I came from big banks and I thought I'd stay with big banks forever, and found myself in the credit union space. And what's the beauty of being in credit union is their heart and soul around the community.
Winning as a community financial institution is often a result of proximity, and not just location, but being close in terms of aligning strategy and execution to the needs of the local market. In this episode, we hear from OneAZ Credit Union's Chief Operating Officer, Laura Worzella. Laura shares the trends and unique attributes of their market in Arizona, but more importantly, the extent that they've gone to craft everything from their touch points to their offerings to routes to even their internal organization to position themselves as the first and best choice for their members and their served community. There's a lot to learn here. Enjoy the episode. Laura, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure, Rich. Just glad to be here.
So I think maybe one of the unique things about, your footprint of where you are in the Southwest in Arizona is maybe some of the unique demographic trends, or, what are some of the things that you're seeing that are kind of bespoke or unique to the how you stay relevant to the market?
Yeah. Here's what I tell you. Arizona by 2032 is going to be a minority majority state. And so for us here at OneAZ, we're looking at how do we meet this growing population where they are. And so we've really tried to center around our efforts to focus on Latino families, small business, and young professionals, because that's really the trend of where we're seeing the industry go in the state of Arizona. So what does that look like for OneAZ? It's understanding the psychographics of each one of those segments, and again, kind of meeting them where they are. And so if you look at the state of Arizona as a whole, a great example would be 99% of the businesses here are small businesses. And so what are those unique needs to small businesses that credit unions can deliver on that maybe the big banks can't deliver on because it's not in their target market? The same thing with Latino families. It's understanding what does it mean to be a Latino family, and what are the psychographics surrounding those beautiful families, and how can we support them, the mother, the father, the children, the grandparents, the entire family unit from a credit union perspective. And then the other trend that's happening in Arizona is we have a lot of these big tech giants moving in, which brings an influx of young professionals. And so what do young professionals need? They want digital, they want fast, they want the Amazon effect. And so, we're looking internally at all of our processes and our operation, because we're going to have to deliver differently to that segment than we currently do today. So we have a lot going on with figuring out how we stay relevant to those big three trends that are happening in the state.
So that catering or targeting to an immigrant or expat population certainly was a playbook that paid off for BBVA, in the past decade. It gave them a very healthy exit to PNC. What are some of the things you're doing, particularly on like the small business side, for example? Because that's sometimes yes, sometimes no, particularly for credit unions, about whether or not they're going to cater to small business banking, gets into SBA loans and all of those things. So what are you doing in that aspect?
Well, one of the first things we've done, and big kudos to our Chief Lending Officer, Ken Bauer, as well as our Chief Strategy and Growth Officer, Osmond Olhack, they put together an amazing SBA program for OneAZ. So that way we can lend to those small businesses right out of the gate when they need help the most. The other thing that we're looking at is we have a very robust data and analytics team, and they're looking at how can we also provide lending for the even smaller small businesses, right? So, not necessarily micro lending, but the smaller kind of loans that, typically the big banks don't want to mess with. And we're talking $5,000 to $50,000, right? Line of credits. But those can be big difference makers for some of our small business owners. And how do they pay for equipment or make their payroll for the week and things like that? And so we're asking the small businesses, how can we serve them? The other piece to this is we're taking um, a really in-depth approach to how can we be great community partners. Because one of the things that we're seeing is these small businesses are integral parts of the community. And so we're approaching this kind of community partnership way. And we've partnered with great businesses like Novlake. We've partnered with State 48, which is another business down in the Gilbert area. And so we're partnering with all of these small businesses who are having this big impact in the community. And we're asking them to join us so that we can have a voice in the small business community to get what they need so that we can deliver on that.
In what ways do you differentiate yourself? We'll stay on the small business trend. How are you standing out from larger competitors and, certainly the nationals that have a footprint in the state?
I think the big differentiator with us around small businesses is that we make local decisions. Our chief lending officer sits right around the corner from me in the office. And so when a deal comes across his desk, he's looking at it, right? When we're writing even consumer loans, those decisions are made here. We know who these people are. We know where they live. We know what they do for a living. We typically even know the employer that they work for. And so that level of local decision making is priceless because we know the trends that are happening in the state of Arizona. We know what the economy trends look like. We know what the employment rates look like in the state of Arizona. And we can respond very nimbly to those requests and those needs that our members need. And that gives us that competitive advantage to be able to react quickly to the changing trends in the marketplace.
So you mentioned data analytics as being, probably what's becoming a bigger core competence for you.
Oh,
In the technology realm, how are you thinking about this from an investment standpoint? Like, what are you looking at? What's important or what's really going to move the needle for you with this strategy?
his vision for the credit union is to be able to look at what is platform banking. So that's a big piece for us today, is looking at platform banking to create capabilities within our organization to enhance our digital technology, our data and analytics. We're also looking at blockchain today. And again, all of this is how can we streamline our banking services to be able to serve our members fast, efficiently, and give them what they need at their fingertips.
So one of the things that is sometimes the trade-off or runs into conflict is your physical footprint or, number of branches from that standpoint. How do you balance that trade-off? Because you have it's a statewide charter, correct? You're operating under? Okay, so big
Yeah.
chunk of territory that you're trying to address. How do you balance those things?
Well, it's funny. I get the question all the time as the chief operating officer, Laura, do you think branches are going to be here in the next 5 years or are they going away? And Rich, I'll tell you, I've been in the retail space for 24 years today. And I will tell you, branches are not going to go away. I would be willing to make a bet on that. Now, do I think that the branches will look different? Absolutely. Because the transactions that we see today are very different than the transactions we saw 10, 20 years ago. But our branches are going to remain a hub within a community. And the way we're approaching it is we're treating our branches like community hubs. We want them to be a place that you can go in and engage with your community. You can go in and engage with our bankers on financial education, financial resources. You can learn about investing. We have a very robust wealth management team that is willing to teach people about what it means to be financially healthy. And so we are going to continue to expand in the state of Arizona. We've got 3 pieces of land today that we're looking at building on very, very quickly. And we've got 3 more, if not more than that, in the hopper today that we're looking at. So we want to invest in the state of Arizona. I will tell you, we're looking to make community investment. So we don't want to put a branch on, let's just say I-10 because we get a great deal for that location. That's not what we want to do. We want to go put a branch in a community that focuses on those 3 segments that I talked about earlier. And so, one of the places that we're looking at is down south on Riggs and Ellsworth. Another place that we're looking at is over in Surprise, with the 303. And so those are key critical community that mirror that target segment that I was talking about: Latino families, small business, and young professionals. And so when we make those community investments, we want to do it in communities who we want to partner with and who we believe will benefit from this investment of this, branch/community hub, because we want to be a part of that community when we build that branch.
So does that, are you like changing the way that experience is, that like in branch experience beyond signage and, brand type elements, but actually like what the physical makeup of the branch looks like?
Yeah, we are. So, there's, I say we are, but there's really there's only so many ways you
Mhm.
can design, right? Because it is four walls and a structure. But we're looking at things like, how do we open it up to community space? So if you're a nonprofit and you want to hold your meetings at one of our locations, how could we give you that option? Looking at, do we really need traditional banker offices, or can it be more of an open space where it's warm and friendly and inviting? And it's not like walking into a library, which was some of the traditional banking back in the days, right? We're looking at this blend of human and technology kind of based designs so that we can serve the members who maybe want that face-to-face interaction, or the members who want the digital interaction. And how can we blend those two to, again, kind of meet members where they are and give them what they need in the branches? So nothing's off the table. We've partnered with a great organization who's helping us brainstorm and come up with very innovative designs for our branches, for the future. So it's something we're really excited about.
So as you think about shifting towards these new segments, and these are new segments, right? This is kind of like a retargeting for you, at least, or you're in the
Mhm.
process. Okay. How else are you changing the experience? Like, what are some of the other things you're doing, either from a product or look and feel, or how the digital experience works?
So one of the things we're kicking around is ITMs, which are basically ATMs with a video function. So you can come, if you just have a simple ATM transaction, you can do that. Or if you'd like to speak with one of our tellers, or universal bankers, you can video chat with them right there. That's another one. That's a big one that we're kicking around. We're also kicking around, do we actually need desktop computers, or can we do everything on an iPad? And so that gives the banker and the member flexibility to move around in a space, right? So it's not this, I'm the banker on one side of the desk and you're the member on the other side. It's how do we partner together? So we're looking at, how do we unplug the technology, so to speak, from today and make it mobile so that we can have that more inviting space within branches. So those are two of the things right now.
What other elements from a growth standpoint are you looking at? Like, how are you thinking about the future? I know, like, one of the trends that we've seen pick up really since 2020 has been more acquisitive growth, particularly from credit unions that are like looking at not only other joint with other credit unions, but also buying footprint or branches from charter banks, for example. Is that something that's been on the table for you?
It is. We have a very experienced CEO, Brandon Michaels, and he is also very hungry for growth. And coming in here, he's really pushed us, Rich, to think outside the box, to be innovative, and quite frankly, to take the catcher's mitt off and go get the business. And so we are absolutely looking at opportunities to grow through acquisition, through organic growth, through digital marketing, increasing or enhancing our brand awareness, through branch expansion, and also simply just through process improvement, right? And through efficiencies and economies of scale. If we're better internally and we save money internally, that means we could spend more money externally, and go get the business. And so, we're projecting, some really strong growth numbers, not only in 2024, but going forward.
So what's the hard part then, right? Because it sounds like certainly from a trend standpoint, you probably got quite a bit of wind at your back. What's kind of holding you up? What are the barriers, or what do you see as, the things that are maybe going to like trip this up or make it more difficult for you?
You can't do it all, right? I mean, you're
Mhm.
going to have to prioritize. And so that's probably the hardest part is how do you prioritize building? Do you build 3 branches and do you upgrade your technology? Or go acquire another institution, or how can you do it all and still maintain a great balance sheet, great financial position, the morale of your associates, right, the people that work for you, and keep a very engaging, robust culture. And so that's where it gets to, is how do you do it all in that space? And what we're talking about every day at the executive level is, how are we making sure that we are member centric and that we are associate driven? Because while we may have all these grandiose ideas that are great, those are the first 2 people that mean the most to us, right? We have to take care of our associates and the culture, and we have to take care of the members that we're here to serve. And so, when we meet every week and we meet twice a week as an executive team, those are the first 2 topics of conversation that we're discussing, because that's what's going to trip us up. And it will trip up any organization. If you don't invest and take care of the people who you serve and the people who work with you, then no matter what your plans are, they're not going to be successful, because we do have a great strategic plan, but we need great people to help us execute it. And that's where it.
So is that largely from like a central executive team kind of coming together, building the plan that way, or you tend to split it up kind of more into like a tiger team or project team standpoint? Like how do you put that together from this is our strategy to now here's the thing like we're actually going to go execute and fund?
Yeah. So one of the things we've worked really hard on that Brandon and Osmond have brought to the organization is our agile transformation. And we have a very robust VMO team, which is our agile project management team. And they are leading the organization through this agile transformation. Because while the executive team can, guide the strategy and help articulate the strategy, we need all of the levels within the organization to execute on that strategy. And we're going to be doing that through Agile. And Agile is not, we're viewing Agile as more than just project management function. And while it's, our project management team has done great with the Agile transformation, it's also a way of thinking. And so that has to permeate through the entire organization. And those efforts are being led by each of the executives, especially with our CEO.
Your project management team or your agile team that does the leadership on this, like how are they organized? Like who do they report to? How is that structured?
Well, one of the things we do differently is our agile project management team reports into our chief strategy growth officer, which is Osmond Olhak. And that's different because normally it would report in, you've seen it report into a lot of different functions, right? Sometimes it reports to the COO, sometimes it reports to the CTO, but we believe that that's a good alignment, because given what Osmond brings to the table with kind of helping us with the strategy and the growth and where we want to go, it makes sense for Agile to report into him to help us move forward as an organization.
So I guess one other thing, kind of again thinking about the growth piece, what what are you most long on? What's the most interesting thing, or what's the thing maybe you're most personally interested in as you kind of think about those opportunities?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I'm really passionate about the branches. And, that's what I've known for 24 years being in the retail space. And so I'm really excited to see what we can deliver in the evolution of our branches over the next 5 years, and what they will look like and how they will serve the community. I'm also really passionate about this community partnership stuff because, as you know, from my background, I came from big banks. and I thought I'd stay with big banks forever, and found myself in the credit union space. And what's the beauty of being in credit union is their heart and soul around the community. And it's really fun and exciting to be able to make a difference in the communities you serve. And so, these partnerships that I mentioned with State 48 and No Play, and FC Arizona, those are partnerships that are really going to impact these communities, and I think help us create stronger, better futures for our own children. And so when you combine that with the branches, man, that's exciting. And then obviously the growth of our organization. I'm very excited to have Brandon as our CEO. And I think we're going to really make a difference in Arizona. And I'm glad to be along for that ride.
Well, Laura, thank you very much for sharing your story with us today. If anybody's interested in learning more about you or the bank or where you're going, where can they go for more information?
Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. Look me up, send me a message. Would love to chat with you. And oneazcu.com is our website. And you can also reach out to any of the executives on the website as well.
And we'll put links to all that in the show notes. Laura, thank you very much for being here.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. Glad to be here.